Hey, it's me, MLB. Here is Shattered Image Chapter 16, and this one is titled Heroes of Class 1A. You got home a little later than expected, but your parents weren't too worried, especially when you said you'd hung out with a classmate. Your mum highly suspected it was the guy who had given you his jacket that you still happened to be carrying around with you everywhere you went, but you kept tight-lipped about who it was, and she didn't want to pry, but you appeared to be a little happier these days. I'm so glad she's opening up to someone, she thought as she started making dinner. She just needs some good people around her and she'll be okay. You had a relatively normal afternoon and then got into bed for the night, falling asleep to the thought of going to see one of your favourite bands with Sero. One day, maybe. Yeah, he'd be chill to hang with, you thought as you drifted off to sleep. The next morning you were walking through the town when you saw Sero casually standing with his back up against the wall near the end of the row of buildings, and you called out to him. Hey weirdo, don't get picked for loitering, you teased as you approached him. Oh, hey, he greeted as he looked up from his phone and put it away. My legs got tired, so I was waiting here for you. Did you need me to carry you to school? Or, you joked. Yeah, could you? He joked back, leaning onto the side of you and making you crab walk to stop from falling over. Bro, why do you weigh a ton? You joked as you tried to heave him along. The ramen yesterday, he replied with a chuckle, and then stopped leaning onto you. You snorted in reply, and then the conversation turned to food, and then what was ahead for the day, that day at school. I never know what to expect at school, Sarah replied honestly. It'll be something crazy for sure, especially with Aizawa as the teacher. Yeah, you're not wrong about that, you replied, looking up as you guys got closer to the school gates. Just then a third person caught up to you and greeted you both, making you look across to the other side of Sarah to see who it was. It was Ida, and you gave him a small smile. What's up, G? You asked. I'm not sure what you mean, Ida said sheepishly, glancing up. The sky is rather vibrant today. Yeah, good enough, you replied with a shrug, and Sero did his best to hide his smirk. Got something on for class this afternoon, Sero commented to Ida, bringing him up to speed on what you and he had been discussing before he joined the conversation. I think it's going to be some crazy kind of hero training thing. Ah, yes, Ida said. I did happen to overhear that they would be doing a water rescue this afternoon for 6th class. Yeah, I knew it was something crazy, Sarah said emphatically. Yeah, you were right, you replied with a sweat-dropped look on your face. Man, water-based training? Ugh, my quirk is terrible for that. I can run on water, Ida commented, and you gave him a surprised look. Okay, I didn't know that. Cool, you replied with raised eyebrows. The conversation continued as you headed into the school grounds, but you let Sarah and Ida do the talking as you headed to your locker and got books for 1st class. Bitches better not be all up in my face today, you thought as you grabbed your books and headed for the hall to go to the classroom. The janitor was in the hall cleaning and mopping that morning when you approached him, and you had a moment to think that it was a stupid idea for him to be cleaning now since there were so many people around and could easily knock over his water bucket, and sure enough, it happened. A student heading towards you accidentally knocked the bucket over and water went flying everywhere. You didn't have a lot of time to react, but Sero, behind you, did, and all of a sudden his arms were around you and you had been shot straight up into the air and swung out of the reach of water, while below the water suddenly turned to ice. What the hell? You screeched, having no idea what was going on. You okay? Sero asked as he swung you along the hall, and then you both dropped back down to the ground and turned back to see the carnage that had happened behind you. There was another classmate of yours who you recognised but didn't know the name of, two-tone hair and mismatched eyes, and he had apparently frozen the water, and then Ida had jumped into class rep mode and was redirecting students while Karishma, who you knew, was helping the janitor get out of the way and was placating his apologies. Whoa, that all happened so fast. Sarah chuckled. Looks like they've got it all sorted. You ready to go to class? Yeah, you said, as you mechanically turned and followed him into the classroom adjacent. As you sat down, you had a moment to think. Man, they all just did exactly what they could do and helped people and got the situation under control. But what could I have done then? Nothing. You thought. I really hadn't thought about what it would actually mean to go to this school. Why do I even care? Sarah could see that you'd gone quiet and was thinking about something, and he worried that you were quiet because he had just jumped in and saved you again without your consent. Were you going to tell him off about it later? You seemed to not like him just grabbing you and saving you without asking first. I'll ask her later. Better I get in and apologise about it, he thought as he sat down in his chair. The rest of the classmates came in then, and those who saw what happened went and spoke to Sero about his heroics, but Ida was the one who came to make sure that you were okay first. Yin, I do apologise that I was not there sooner to remove you from harm's way, he said with a bow. Stop apologising, you snapped with embarrassment. It's fine. Sero got to me first anyway, so it's all good. And it's only water, don't make such a big deal about it. But it would have been a bother if you got your school clothes wet, he said honestly, and you scowled and looked away with more embarrassment. I said I'm fine. I'm not a princess or sissy or anything. I can handle myself, he replied. Oh, I understand. Of course you can, he replied, but he had put you in a bad mood and you refused to look at him. Good thing that class started then, and you were left to sulk about how useless you felt and how you perceived that Ida was insinuating the same. I can do helpful stuff, you grumped internally. Watch, I'll do something at the rescue class later. And before you knew it, you were geared up for the rescue class. You, along with the other students, had already submitted your hero costume, and to be honest, you hadn't put any thought into it because at the time you just looked at it as a joke, as if you needed a hero costume. And so your costume was literally pants and a t-shirt, nothing exciting at all. Once changed, you and the rest of the class headed out to the rescue arena that had a man-made river flowing through the middle of it. There was a lot of chatter amongst the students as you all walked to the edge of the ravine and looked down into the rapidly moving waters below. What are we supposed to do here? Sero asked out loud. He didn't appear to be asking the question to anyone in particular, it was more just a generalised question out loud. You didn't reply to him, just looked. While you stood there, Aizawa entered from a door on the other side of the river and walked to the edge and stood still, then raised his arm and a loudspeaker started to descend from overhead from the roof. You all watched as it slowly descended to his level and then he spoke into it. Rescue missions are vital to being a hero. You'll do many over your time in hero work. He said, Yeah, well, no, actually, I'm not, you thought, but you didn't say it out loud. There will be dummies let loose in the stream, and you'll be needing to rescue every single one of them. Some are fitted with electric shock tags, so beware, he said. Holy heck, this school does not care, you almost laughed. Gotta walk through the damn front gates, but we will kill you in class if we want to. There was the sound of some panic amongst your classmates, but honestly you could have cared less. Getting zapped wasn't an issue for you, you could just throw them away if you needed to. Do first and think later. You have 5 minutes to formulate a rescue plan, Aizawa then said. Start now. Yikes, well stay tuned for tomorrow to see how the rescue mission goes. I'll see you then.